So, I mean, for me, sales kickoff meetings are just a really great way to start off the week. It's an opportunity for us to celebrate wins from the previous week, to bond as a team, and also to set our priorities for the upcoming week. Super important part.
Okay, so you set your priorities. And are these priorities that you bring as a manager, or do the sales reps also contribute to the agenda? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So priorities, this is absolutely 100% on the reps. So I definitely want to have the team coming in there. I think it's part of the exercise, the mental exercise of going through and thinking, hey, it's Monday. What do we need to get done this week in order to be successful? So I definitely want them to engage in that behavior, and putting the priorities in our weekly kickoff is a great way to prompt them and get them into the habit of doing that on a regular basis.
And I understand that the reason why you schedule this on a weekly basis is because you want the reps to thinking about weekly priorities and having those reflection moments at the beginning of the week, right? Is there another reason why you think this meeting should be scheduled weekly instead of, let's say, bi-weekly or monthly?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to rituals, right? So, you want this to be a weekly ritual, and it kind of has to do with the life of a salesperson.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
So anybody who has worked in sales, they know that there's a whole series of activities that lead to success, and you always have a lot of priorities, kind of constantly juggling between these priorities, and it's super overwhelming. And honestly, it's really easy to get distracted because you're going to have all these demos happening, a lot of tasks that are due. So the whole point of having the weekly kickoff on a weekly basis is to make sure that we have an opportunity to stay focused. And I think the other big thing is, as a team, it promotes accountability, shared accountability, and transparency around what are we going to get done this week and what's the most important thing for us.
That's great. So I'd love to see the template that you use for this weekly sales kickoff meetings.
Yeah, sure. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So first things first, want to kick off the week by just talking about everybody's weekend. So I mean, we usually come into this call, it's Monday, everybody's just getting into the office. We typically run this at 9 a.m. or 9:45 a.m. to give some people some flexibility. And it's just an opportunity for us to kind of bond as a team, to hang out, and to catch up, right? So we have that opportunity to connect, to kick off the week. And then from there, I like to talk about wins. So we'll go in and talk about wins from last week. I'll actually put some of these things in myself as well, manually. And then if anybody else wants to add some wins, something that they're really proud of from the previous week, they can go and drop that in there as well. After that, we talk about the priorities for the week. And actually, this is something that gets filled out definitely prior to the meeting. And I like to actually mention the folks on my team. So I mention Matt, mention Mitch, and this ensures that they know they have a section, and what's expected is that you're going to come in here and drop in your priorities. Of course, I'm there as well. And then the last thing that I like to keep in this meeting are our metrics. So we report on the metrics for last week here, and you'll notice this is an async component. And the reason for this is, of course, metrics are super important. As salespeople, we're competitive. We want to see how we're doing. But, I don't think it's always necessary to talk about metrics if it's the same thing week over week, right? We're typically going to see trend line, and unless there's something abnormal, we may not even mention it. The idea here, though, is for transparency and accountability, we're going to put those metrics there at the end of the meeting. And if there is something that's abnormal, then we'll talk about it. I may drop something up here, or maybe even somebody from the team may want to drop in a question that they have about the metrics in the talking points for that meeting.
That's great. And are you the person who updates these metrics on Fridays, I'm assuming?
Yeah, exactly. So I actually, because I'm in a different time zone, I have the opportunity to be able to get all this work done in the morning, my time, when everybody else is sleeping. So I go in and I drop in all these metrics, and I also drop in the leaderboards for the previous week. And that's kind of my commitment to my team, is I'm going to go in here and make sure that I'm constantly updating the metrics for our team.
That's awesome. This is a really well thought agenda, and I know it's worked really well for your team. So thanks for sharing it, Joe. One last question I had for you was, as a meeting organizer and as a sales leader, how do you want people to feel feel right after this meeting?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think the main goal for this particular meeting is at the end of the day, you want to make sure that everybody's excited to take on the week and that there's kind of a clear focus after this meeting. Those are the two main feelings that I would hope that the team gets out of this meeting once they leave.
That's great. And any final advice for sales leaders that want to implement weekly sales kickoffs? Anything you've learned in the process that you'd like to share?
Yeah, actually. So, I mean, there's a few things that we've adjusted on the fly. So first and foremost, I'd say ask for feedback about your meeting and ask for feedback frequently. So I'm a new sales leader and I put in place the sales weekly kickoff because it's something that I've seen done before. But I wanted to see like if we could make this better and we were able to. So we actually shortened it. And salespeople don't like to have lots of meetings. You know, the one thing that I've learned is that salespeople don't like being in meetings. So moving things to an async format that don't have to be talked about, that's super important. And keeping the meetings nice and short so people don't get too off track, which is, you know, the other big thing that salespeople love to do is to go off track.
That's great. And that's a great way to end it. Thank you so much for sharing your template with us, Joe.
Cool. Awesome.